Hey everybody, welcome to the round 13 review after the Blues. Get the job done, professional win, take away the 4 points in and out of the MCG. 12 goals, 880 to the Bombers, 7 goals, 12, 54 at the MCG on a cold Friday night. Beautiful cold Friday night. Had to rug up, wear the layers, and what a fascinating night that was. That was truly fascinating in so many ways. The various storylines, various elements of last night, which piqued my interest. I guess we'll start with the beginning, the very beginning, the outset. I you probably would have sensed it from the preview. Like when you play against Essendon or Richmond or Collingwood, these big Melbourne teams, I kind of build it up mentally, thinking, gee, it's going to be red hot, it's going to be on, there's a rivalry. And I really expected that last night, especially given, the Bombers celebrating their 150th birthday or anniversary. And, the lead up for them was all around bringing back the past heroes and, the pillars of what their football club is and what they stand for and those that really made the football club what it is. I mean, it is a great football club. Great is a very interesting word to use, but probably, they're a big club. I'll give them that. And, there was talk about the line in the sand and all of that. And I really thought going into that game, first of all, confident that we were the better side, that we were going to win and that we were going to be challenged, particularly early in the game. They were talking about line in the sand and, they get their players back. David King talking about how the Bombers are a sniff and whatever. Not that I really care for what David King or any of these mainstream journos, for the most part, have to say, because they're just there to create some sort of a reaction. But I really did expect there to be a solid outing and a solid response from the Bombers. And if I'm being dead honest with you right now, the moment which told me that we were going to win the game, no matter what, was before the bounce. So the Bombers, they bring out their 16 premiership trophies. They're out there on the ground. Nice ceremony. The whole ground goes dark. And then the Bombers come out. And then this fascinating scene unfolds where they've got Essendon legends, Wanganeen and Hurd and Jobe Watson in the huddle with Dyson Heppel, and he's grabbing his jumper and he's geeing him up. And in that moment, I looked at it and I'm like, first of all, Dyson, all power to you. I'm sure he's a great bloke. You're not that guy, mate. Just calm down. You're not that guy. You're not that club. And it just reeked of fraudulent action. What were they trying to do? What were they trying to prove? And I kind of reminds me a little bit of society and when you watch social media and people try and project more of what they are rather than prove it with the work that they do. And the fact that they needed to come out onto the ground and show their supporters that they were screaming and shouting and up and about, it really set the tone for whatever ensued afterwards. And I thought maybe they would have a good first quarter, the Bombers, and really take it to us, and then we'd run away with it. But after we kicked the first 3 goals of the game, it just looked so much worse for the Bombers. And, I really built it up mentally. I thought, shit, it's going to be fierce. The crowd's going to get involved. There's going to be animosity. There's going to be verbal exchanges in the crowd, and there was just none of it. It was really interesting, and we got the job done. I've seen some of the rhetoric around, should have won by more, which we always get, but for me that's just noise. That's irrelevant. Vossi even said it in his press conference. You got to win games. Win games first. Jose Mourinho has that famous quote of, winning is not the only thing that matters, but it is certainly the most important thing that matters. And that was how I saw that game last night. We know that we're entering a very challenging spot in the season, given, the back line with Wiedering out and Marchbank coming in for his first game, which was fascinating. And not knowing how is he going to go, how is the structure going to look. But, considering that situation, I thought defensively we were top-notch. I thought the forwards were top notch. And I remember making commentary throughout the game when Harry and Charlie were doing their thing, just how spoilt we are, which is true in some sense, but it's really not, because we haven't been able to see Harry and Charlie play, 20, 30, 40 games together in a row. And you just saw glimpses. And for me, that game last night was really just one layer of the bigger picture that we're going to need come finals time, this year, next year, and, on hopefully this run that we're about to go on as a football club. So, if you look at early in the season, we were winning games based on our dominance at clearance. And that was really the only way we were winning games. Over the last few weeks, and particularly last night, it was all about scores off turnover, which is just not something we had done early in the season. So I looked at last night more as, okay, there's a piece of the puzzle that we take forward and utilize for a later time. I really doubt that week one of finals in September, we're going to look back and say, oh, geez, but if we only had beaten the Bombers by 48 that night, we'd be a better chance to win this final. I just don't look at things short-sightedly like that. I think we are looking at other ways to win. And I think also there was a challenge. You saw the three-quarter time spray from Vossi. There was a challenge to the group to lift the standards and keep going. And I'm not sure exactly how it all eventuated, but I noticed the Bombers just trying to not lose that game by 10 goals, as opposed to trying to win that game and really taking it to us. And it kind of made the affair a little bit, I guess it left me wanting more. It just left me wanting more, and it was a shame that our opposition weren't able to bring the game to us. And, I thought mentally we had beaten them very early in the game. And I think we knew we were much better than them. And, I think for me, the storylines are more centered around got the job done, won in a way that we hadn't won before, just got the 4 points, and then got through unscathed with Harry coming back into the side and looking like he had never left. Marchbank coming in. And that's really the story of the night for me. To get him back, and I've spoken about glimpses that I see that make the imagination run wild. And when I think of Caleb Marchbank being in that side, together with Lewis Young, all of a sudden the imagination starts going to, oh my God, can we start thinking about the possibility of Wiedering and Marchbank being in the same side again? And now with the addition of Lewis Young, the puzzle pieces are all there. It's just about learning how to manage the game, learning about when to go hell for broke and when to make that inboard kick and when to just bomb it along to the top of the square as opposed to trying to cut the angle and penetrate in a different way. And that's really what I think we're going through right now, where we've only just started to win regularly. We've only just started this process of winning more than what we are losing as of this year. So, of course, it's not going to be, Geelong 2008 or Geelong 2000, that whole run they went on, or Richmond when they were at their peak. So, yeah, we're still figuring that out, and it's pretty evident to see. And also, the team seems to change a lot every week. So what I'm hoping for is once we get some of these players back, we just get some harmony within the group. And, I know that the game's brutal, and I know that the game is going to throw up injuries and other challenges. I know that Chera was obviously subbed out really early in the game, and that's going to happen from time to time. It's going to happen every week. For me, it's all about, can we get to the last, 6 to 8 weeks of the season and get everyone back in and then get a nice run of momentum leading into finals football. And that's what it's about for me. I think I just can't get over how much the Bombers did not want to bring it to us last night. It was fascinating. I'm sitting here talking about Essendon's effort in a Carlton review. It was so strange. But I never forget where we've come from, and the fact that we're going to the football and just, getting the job done and not having to worry and being calm throughout the game. It's a new feeling, but it's one that I certainly wanted. I definitely wanted to get to this point where I know we're the better side, and sometimes you just got to get the 4 points, get out of there, move on, start recovery, move on to next week. You play 22, 23 rounds. and they're not going to be pretty. I think where I want the prettiness is probably more towards the end of the season. But at the end of the day, just win the game of football, get us to where we need to go, and build from there. I think I'm also interested to see a bit more about, like, Vossi's obviously gone pretty hard at them at 3/4 time, which was great, as a visual. And to get to that point where you're giving that sort of feedback to a group, it requires a high level of trust. So, I remember Teague went at him late in the season a couple of years back after the halftime of that Brisbane game. And, I remember the feedback of that was that the players didn't really respond to that very well. I'm confident that, the group have trust in Vossi to know when to go and when the standards have got to lift. And that's what I love to see. Like, we're winning the game of football, but we know that we can be a lot better. I thought the midfield probably weren't as dominant as what we know they can be and what they have been. But the defence and, the tall forwards really just, held firm and did their job and just created special moments. And you saw that when we got into space and when we thought our way through and when the leading patterns were there and when we were sort of creating dummy runs or dummy leads for other forwards, we looked so good. And that's just going to take time and repetition and hopefully some continuity with the group. And that's, I think, one of the most important aspects of what we need to see moving forward, just to get some continuity. And the best way to do that is to play against good sides. And that's what we've got coming up over the course of the next few weeks, which I'm pumped about. Good sides, blockbuster games, and, the ultimate challenges that are going to come from that. So, yeah, I'm happy with the win. We banked the 4 points. We're 9-3, for God's sake. We are 9-3. We've won 9 games after 13. And, I'm pretty happy with where we're at the moment. And, the imagination is starting to really run wild. It seems, at this point in time, the competition is opening up a little bit more. And I was very curious to see after our fast start to the year, was it just going to be a month of good football and maybe falter a little bit? But yeah, like what we've been told throughout the preseason and early in the year, what it looks like in round 13 is going to be better, from a system point of view than what it looked like in the preseason and in round 1. And I think we are definitely seeing that. And the system, winning systematically is something we probably just haven't had much of, if at all. So that was a pleasing aspect. And, we move on. The Bombers, world of pain. Don't know where they're at. Don't know what they're trying to prove. I just need to calm down and just play the game on its merits rather than trying to beat your chest and rah-rah and tell everybody how tough you are. Why don't you go and get a hard ball, you fucking scumbags. Anyway, that's what I think about them. The rivalry took a bit of a hit for me last night. I kind of, for the first time, I pitied, like genuinely pitied a group that we were playing against. And for many years, I'm sure that was the case with us. Young Carlton, 2018, Carlton just trying to not lose by 10 goals. So, part of me says, you shouldn't forget where you guys were back in the day. But the other part of me says, well, I copped that pity from other people. So, I don't know. I just want to focus on what's important, and that's getting us to finals and giving this season a red hot crack. Because, like I said in the fan cams last night, why not us? Like, why not? Why can't we shake it up this year and give it a red hot crack and put ourselves in a position to win a fucking premiership? Like, why not? What is stopping us other than ourselves? I think our best is good enough to compete with anyone. I think ultimately we've got to, just fix up aspects of our game with the inconsistencies. Every club's in the same boat. Every club's got inconsistencies throughout the course of a game. So, yeah, take the win. Happy with that. Sam Doherty, player of the game. He was sensational last night. And I'm a happy Carlton supporter. We're going to move on to Richmond next week. Big game. I look forward to it. What about you? I sensed through the fan cams this weird vibe. And I spoke to my brother-in-law. And he kind of put it into perspective for me. It's probably due to the fact that we now have this expectation of winning. And that's where the dullness comes. You can only really be disappointed in something when you have expectation for something and it's not met. So, yeah, it's good. Let me know what you thought about the game. Let me know how you saw it, whether you watched from home, whether you watched from the game, and share some of your commentary. And I look forward to getting through that. And we'll do this all over again next week. Stay tuned for the player ratings, and go the Mighty Blues.